Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a chatty one. I've got my cup of tea here and I thought I would just sit and have a little natter with you about university and where I'm at 18 months on. So 18 months is kind of a rough guess. I think it's maybe a little bit less than that or a bit more, I'm not really sure, but it's been about 18 months since I left university and I thought I'd kind of chat about where I'm at now, what I've been doing with myself, that kind of thing, because I did vlog most of my final year of university. I have weekly vlogged in second year. I think I did a little bit of YouTube in first year. So I've pretty much done the entire university journey with you guys. And a few people have been asking me kind of where I'm at now, and my old university videos are all still live. So I do still get a few emails every now and then just kind of asking me tips and advice and what I'm doing and how I found it since leaving and that kind of thing. So I thought it was about time I had a little bit of a chat about that, and I figured that 18 months was kind of a good period of time to check in and tell you about my life, I guess. I don't really want to go too rambly into what's been going on for the last year and a half. If you want to know the full like ins and outs of where I've been and all that kind of thing, you can watch the weekly vlogs, which I'll leave linked down below. But work-wise and kind of that side of things. So for a backstory, if you didn't know, I studied fashion design at university and I specialised in menswear. So I opted for menswear just because I preferred it. I thought it was more fun and something I kind of enjoyed more, as I liked the kind of like technical side of things as opposed to designing like dresses and stuff, because I'm not an overly feminine person and I just find it easier to design how I wear and how I like, if that makes any sense. So I just really love menswear. I was very much like sporty but smart kind of designer. That was my thing. I was very much like classics, exaggeration of classics, that kind of things. I actually went to University of Creative Arts in Epsom, which I didn't talk about at the time because I really didn't want to be putting where I was studying on the internet, because I worked in the same town. It was quite well known that I worked in Waitrose and I worked at Jack Wills, and everyone knew that I lived in that town, and I just didn't want to put it on the internet. So apologies if you asked me at that time, because I probably was very brash about that. But it was a good uni, but there wasn't really a nightlife. So if you are thinking about going there, I will happily talk to you about that university, what I thought of the course and the nightlife and the living there and all that kind of stuff, because I actually think that it's something that needs to be talked about, because not in a bad way, I just feel like you don't really know what you're getting yourself into when you go to that kind of university, because there's no halls or anything. So I graduated in June 2016 and I was working at the time in Jack Wills, which like just as a sales assistant, nothing fancy or anything, and I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. So I had a little think about it. I did really want to go into design and I applied for a few jobs here and there doing various things. So a couple of them were doing like pattern cutting or menswear design or various things like that, but to be completely honest, I just wasn't 100% ready to jump straight into that kind of thing, because if you have done a fashion degree, a creative degree, anything like graphics, photography, all that kind of stuff, you have to literally throw yourself into it, and it's so physical and so time consuming and so completely overwhelming that I just thought I've spent 90% of my last year completely 100% immersed in doing design and cutting patterns and drawing and sewing and crying into paperwork and drinking wine to get me through my dissertation and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to take a little bit of a step back and almost let myself have some time. So I basically just ended up doing 4 or 5 days a week at Jack Wills at that time. I thought I'll just work in the shop, I'll let myself have a bit of a break, have an easy life for a couple of months and see what happens. During that time, I actually ended up getting scouted for another job, and I worked for a dating app in London. So I was basically, I guess you could say, like poached for the job. My job was actually supposed to be marketing, but as it was like a fairly new part of their business, it's really hard to explain, but essentially the marketing department was like a really new team. We didn't really know what was going to be going on with it, and basically I was pulled in as a fresh face and someone to help out along with a couple of other girls, and I was working heavily with influencers. So I was basically doing the opposite side of what I do now. So essentially I was going through Instagram and going through blogs and finding cool people and working with amazing people and finding influencers. I hate the word influencer, just to throw it out there, but that is essentially my job. I was an influencer manager, and yeah, I was just scouting people to do campaigns on Instagram and that kind of thing. So this all happened around, I want to say August, September time. So I had done around 2 months of kind of 4 to 5 days a week in the shop. And then I was scouted and did around 8 weeks in the dating app, and to be completely honest, my heart was just not there. I was trying something new. It's not what I'd studied. It was just something that I wanted to try because I thought, if I love doing blogging and I love my Instagram and I love the whole industry from my side as Copper Garden, do I think I can do it from the other side too, and combine the jobs and maybe learn some more about kind of the other side of the job? Because obviously I deal with PRs and that kind of side of it every single day, multiple times a day. So it just, for me, I was like, it's a bit interesting. Like, even if it doesn't go well, I've learned something new. But that job was a really good learning curve, and I got to the point where I just didn't enjoy the job. I didn't enjoy going to work in the morning. I wasn't loving what I do, and I think for me, I'm one of those people where I have to wake up in the morning and absolutely love and want to live and breathe and immerse myself completely in what I'm doing. So I just turned around one day and said to my boss that I wasn't happy, and I just said, look, this isn't for me. I want to travel. I want to do my blog full time, because at this point my blog was taking off really well and I was on the edge of wanting to just travel all the time. I was going on loads of trips, weekends when I was off work and stuff, and it just wasn't, like, at the time it just wasn't for me, and it made logical sense for me to just quit and try something new. So I literally walked in that day and said to her I wasn't happy anymore, and she said, look, if you want to leave, then you can go today. So I was like, okay, cool, that's me, I'm good, I'm gonna go, thank you very much for the opportunity, but now I know it's not for me, kind of thing. That led me into the thing of being like, oh balls, I am unemployed and I don't know what to do with myself. So I ended up blogging full time, and luckily for me, it took off really quickly. And the minute that I hit the full-time status, I guess you could say, so the minute that I started completely immersing myself into this and doing it with absolutely no other distraction, it just took off, and I'm really grateful because it means that I've been doing it ever since. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I love it so much, but part of me is now beginning to miss the fashion design side. So I have basically been kind of thinking about getting back into it in a way that suits me and the way that I would want to do it. So I've never really wanted to work for anyone else per se. I've always kind of been that person that wants to go off on my own, and I've always thought of, like, whenever I saw my future in fashion design, I saw my future as my own boss, I saw my own labels, I saw my own creation, not me living someone else's dream. So I obviously want the experience of having worked in fashion houses and stuff like that, but ultimately I do want my own brand, which I haven't really openly published anywhere, but I guess you could call this like an exclusive. Like, yes, exclusive, shout about it, tweet, newspapers, yep, but okay, no one's gonna care that much for a newspaper or anything, but I am going to be starting my own brand at some point in the near future. So I have already created an Instagram account for the brand. I've already started to kind of scout inspiration and think about kind of the brand message and all that kind of behind the scenesy businessy stuff. I haven't really designed anything yet, but I've thought about all the back end of things. And luckily for me, I've got obviously a photographer boyfriend, I've got friends who've studied business, I've got friends who were in fashion design with me, and all these different avenues that can luckily help me, because it is quite a big thing to start a business. And I'm also going to be in contact with my lecturers to try and find out like about manufacturing and things, because oh my lord, you will never understand how difficult it is to find manufacturers. Like, it is honestly so hard to find a cheap one that's good, that isn't child labour and all that kind of stuff, because I'm almost drawn towards making my products either made in Australia or the UK, because that is the kind of audience I'm going for. Not going into it too much now, but it's basically going to be the most me brand that you will ever find, because it is my brand. I'll be honest, I'm very, very scared, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it, and I don't know if I'm going to link it to my own name yet, or if I'm just going to kind of tell you that it's there now and then not really mention it again, because I don't want it to be Jess from Copper Garden's brand. I want it to be its own brand. It has a completely different name, it's a completely different thing, and I just want it to be different. But yeah, essentially that is the kind of backstory of things. So I will be starting my own brand, and I haven't this far done anything to do with my degree, but I actually asked on Twitter a few weeks ago for any kind of questions that you guys had surrounding how I'm doing now, anything that you'd want to know kind of this far along after a degree. So basically these are the kind of things that I was being asked, and I thought that I would just kind of turn this into like a storytime Q&A kind of thing, just chatting about graduate life, because at the moment I actually love just sitting down and chatting with a cup of coffee and just, you know, getting on with question time. And I thought these would be really helpful for you guys. So the first question was from Camilla, and she said, is there anything you wish you did during or in your last year of uni that would have helped you in your future, or anything that you missed out on? I don't know on this one, if I'm honest, because I feel like third year of university was very, very chaotic, and I don't think I had time to breathe. I think the one thing I wish I'd done properly was an internship in second year, because I worked for an online clothing brand and kind of did my internship from home. So I didn't really get to go into a workplace and do it properly because I just financially could not afford to do like a month in a workplace, because I was still having to try and work at home on like actual jobs as well. So that's one thing I wish I had done. But the one thing I will say that I'm glad I did is I kept my life going. So throughout third year, I do not know how I did it, and to this day I still think I was Superwoman and don't know how I did it, but I managed to daily vlog for 2 months, weekly vlog for the whole year. I went to the gym every single morning, I had my blog, I uploaded 3 videos a week, I was taking Instagram pictures all the time, I was doing a dissertation, I still kept up a relationship, I still came home every weekend to see my friends, and I also had a job 3 days a week alongside my degree. I honestly do not know how I lived, breathed, ate, slept, nothing. I do not know how I was alive. My friends who lived with me in third year literally must have hated me because I was like a zombie, absolute raging nightmare the whole time. But I'm really glad I kept everything going, even though like my parents were telling me to quit my blog because I needed to focus on university, and I'm so glad that I didn't listen to anyone and I kept my life going, because I think sometimes you can get so immersed in a degree that you forget to live, and it's really important to kind of have that balance, because when you have the work-life balance, it means that you almost get more done because you have the time to step away and just do something else and not focus on your work, so you're almost like more focused, if that makes any sense. Another one said, it would be great to know if you got a job in the same field that you did your degree in. Obviously, as I've just mentioned, I didn't. I will be setting up my own brand, and I think the skills that I've learned were really valuable, so that is kind of me going into the same job, I guess. And I'm kind of still in fashion. I still fashion blog, so technically I'm still in fashion, just not in the same way. This one made me laugh quite a lot, so I'm going to include it. Do you ever forget that you're not still a student? I'm months away from graduating, and I'm sure it'll take ages to remember I'm no longer getting discounts everywhere. Girl, literally, I forget all the time. I end up going on ASOS and I'm like, oh, it's fine, I've got my student discount, and then I'm like, no, I don't. Balls. But if you have my uni days, you can actually still, some universities, mine did this, I'm not sure about other ones, but your university email is still valid for a year after you graduate, just in case you've got like job things and stuff. So I actually still had my uni days for a year after university, which ended in June, and I'm very upset about it because I lost the ASOS discount and that made me sore. But other than that, I found it quite easy to transition out. I just kind of found it weird to be like, oh, I'm not going to university. Oh, I can't just like mope around on the sofa with my housemates anymore. I have to get an actual job and like live life. Tyler asked, have you learnt to manage your money, and how do you find general adulting, errands and jobs, etc.? Managing money, I am dreadful at. I've never been good at it. I spend as soon as it's there. But the one thing I will say is that university did kind of teach me the importance of bills and rent and kind of making sure that you don't spend everything the minute it comes in, because the one thing that I struggled with the very first student finance payment that we got was we all kind of spent it straight away on like Nando's and new clothes and going on nights out and that kind of thing, and none of us really prioritised for rent. So when it came down to like 2 or 3 months later, I ended up having to get a bigger overdraft to pay my rent because I didn't think about budgeting, and it almost scared me into never doing it again because I was so terrified that I'd be kicked out of my house. And then throughout second and third year, I had to save quite a bit because doing a creative course, you need a lot of money. I think me and my friend Hayley worked out that we probably spent a few thousand each on third year, and that was just on like printing, which costs a fortune, buying folders, buying paper, like stupid things like fabric, scissors, all like things you wouldn't even think about. I think I spent about, oh God, I don't even know how much on paper because I bought thicker paper so it was better quality. Our portfolios cost us about £60, like manufacturing clothes was about £120 a shirt, and we had to manufacture a whole, she had a completely different thing to me, so hers was like a whole collection she had to make, but I had to send stuff to manufacture, and it was 2 entire outfits and it cost me, I don't even want to know how much. But yeah, it is an expensive, it's an expensive time of your life, and it definitely teaches you how to kind of budget your money better if you're wise and savvy about it. But it did kind of make me think about saving more. So like when money came in, I was like, right, what do I desperately need to pay for? Rent, I need to pay for this, I need to pay for this. And then it made me kind of more aware of how much I actually had left. So I wasn't just seeing like, oh, you have £1,000 in your account. I was seeing you've got £1,000, but you need to spend 400 of it, so you've only got 600 kind of thing. Another one from M. Do you wish you'd chosen a different degree? Do you feel your degree has helped you with where you are right now? Yes, I think it has helped me with where I am right now, because I wouldn't be in the same mindset about starting a brand. I would probably be kind of Googling, I guess, and trying to work it out. Like being at university definitely taught me the way that manufacturers work and all like the technical like things about starting a brand that you maybe wouldn't have thought of, like business plans and that kind of thing. But I definitely wouldn't have studied another degree. I did at the time think about studying journalism or marketing because I was so into my blog and it was my favourite thing in the world. So I kind of thought like, oh, well, if I'm good at blogging and I do blogging, why don't I just do journalism, or why don't I just do marketing or management or like something social media-y? But looking back, I'm really glad I didn't, because I think having blogging is something that I enjoy as a hobby and something that is now my job, and I'm really lucky it's my job, and I absolutely love it and respect it in a different way now that it is my full-time job. But I think the fact that that is my separate thing and it's not like, I don't know how to explain it, like I almost think of the two as very different. So blogging is something I love and it's my job and it's my passion and it's my life, but the brand that I'm setting up is also going to be that kind of hobby, passion, love, but also what I've worked really hard for 3 years to get kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it without sounding like my blog is irrelevant and isn't really a job. Like, I know how I mean it, but like essentially I've studied and paid a fortune into the brand, so that is kind of like my job. I don't really know how to explain it, but I wouldn't have chosen a different degree. And then the last one that I wanted to kind of touch upon is from Jessica, who said, I have so many questions, mainly if you regret going to university and if you change what your degree is, and if you feel you'd have progressed quicker or differently if you hadn't have gone. So first question, so the first part of that, if I regret going, I really don't regret going to university. Initially, I don't know if you've seen my education story, I'll link it down below, where I kind of talk more about backstory wise, but I actually went from school to doing a year of A-levels and dropped out. Then I did a year of college and dropped out, and then a different year of college and dropped out. And then I finally thought, you know what, I really want to do fashion design, because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Then I fell into fashion design, which is kind of what I think I'd always been destined to do the whole time, cheesy as it sounds. And then I'm really glad that I did it. So I think because I'd taken so long to decide, I didn't regret anything. I don't regret that I went to college. I don't regret that I went to university. I don't regret that I ended university when I was 24. I started when I was 21. Like, I don't regret that. I think I was in a better mindset and a better place to have gone when I was that age. And then to answer the second part of that, do you feel you'd have progressed quicker or differently if I hadn't have gone to university? Differently, yes. Quicker, no. It's very, 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 very hard to get a job in fashion design if you do not have a degree, which is the main sole reason that I went to university. Being in the fashion industry is brutal. Having a degree, you still get the lowest pay, and it's still like under 19 grand a year as starter pay. But if you don't have a degree, it's even harder to get into that job. So I basically got the degree because I knew that I really needed it. And if you've got 100 people applying to a fashion design job at the lowest spectrum, you're already in the higher bracket by the fact that you have the degree, and depending on your grade you're even higher up kind of thing. So I did it as an almost benefit to myself because I knew that it was the right thing to do. But I don't think I'd have been able to progress quicker if I hadn't have gone. I think it would have just been much harder, and I might have had to kind of do almost an apprenticeship route, which is really difficult, and maybe try a lot more internships. So rather than doing maybe like 2 or 3 internships and then falling into a graduate position, I might have had to do like years worth of free internships to fall into the position that ended up giving me a job kind of thing. But my camera is about to die, so I'm going to end this one really, really quickly. But I hope this was informative, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have learnt a little bit more about me and the graduate life and where I'm at and where I'm going and that kind of thing, because I know I do get a lot of questions about where I'm at the moment. So I hope this has answered questions. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments and I'll answer in the comments. So if someone has already asked something that you wanted to know the answer to, it's all kind of there for you to see more information. And if I did forget anything that I feel is quite important, which I don't think I did in like 25 minutes of filming, But if I did forget anything, then I will leave it in the description box for you, and I'll also leave the link to all of my previous videos about studying fashion design, because there's literally videos on like anything and everything, and I've got hundreds about different aspects of university, not just fashion design, and yeah, it's all down there if you want to have a read and a listen and a gander and whatever you want to call it that you do. But yeah, I'll see you in my next video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little Sunday ramble of mine, and again, if you have any more videos you'd like me to chat about, then I'd be happy to. Bye, guys.